The Nook.
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 Hey everyone, welcome in to episode 7 of the NookCast. Happy New Year. This is also the first episode of 2021, and I am very excited for this episode to dive into everything channel points and how to make your stream much better with something called Better Points. And joining me today is Noom TV, who's a fellow Nookian. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you.
Good.
Thanks for having me on.
Yes, of course. So this was an episode idea that I had way back when we were figuring out the NookCast. We hadn't even done an episode yet, and I knew that at some point I wanted to have Noom on with us to just dedicate an entire episode to Better Points and how to make your stream so much more creative and better with this service. So Better Points is a service provided by the company Better Scenes, and the creator and founder of Better Scenes is Noom TV, who is next to me today. Noom, I'll actually just get you to introduce yourself quickly, talk about your stream a little bit, and where we can find you.
Well, yeah, I'm Noom TV, as the name suggests. That's where you can find me, over on Twitch, Noom_TV. I've been actually almost 3 years. In March, I will have been on Twitch for 3 years, which is crazy how fast that has crept up. Yeah, I'm a variety streamer. I kind of just play whatever comes across my path. I tend to lean towards, I guess, adventure or survival games, with a bit of sim, I guess, in there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Tend to just try to be a welcoming and relaxed community, and we just chill out.
And you do have a very welcoming and relaxed community. I love your streams.
Thank you.
So happy to have you on here. Just a friendly reminder to everybody, as always, we will not always be reading or interacting with the chat throughout the episode. The intent of this live podcast is to mimic a recorded podcast. We do, as always, have many Nookians in the chat that you can talk to. We're going to be covering a lot today. If at any point you think you have a question, just hold it. We might address it. And then at the end, we'll open it up for questions from the chat. But before we dive into the meat of the podcast, I just wanted to let you guys know, if you did not see our tweet, Big Dig Season 2 is kicking off on February 15th. We have 10 new Nook members taking part, and there is going to be over 20 challenges in Big Dig Season 2. Big Dig Season 1 was an absolute blast. It was a hit with so many people in our community. So you definitely want to make sure that you tune in for Season 2. So click on that link, check out the schedule, check out the streamers that are going to be involved. It is going to be a heckin' good time. I am excited. It's funny, I'm
so excited.
I was already asked if I'm taking part in the Big Dig, and I had to be like, no. I'm a cheerleader for the Big Dig.
Yeah, I'm on the backup list too. Not gonna lie. I'm a little sad that I'll get to miss out, but also at the same time, it's gonna be so exciting to see all the new people. And there are a lot of people who have never played Minecraft before, which is going to be interesting. I think very interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be
the
awesome.
new format is really cool too. I like we didn't really have a goal on Big Dig 1. We kind of made it up ourselves that we were going to try and beat the game, but I really like these challenges. It looks really interesting. Yeah,
so stay tuned so you can see all what's coming. It's gonna be a great time. All right, guys, we have a lot for you today. We have a ton. Noom has a lot to share. There's going to be demos. We haven't really demoed anything on the NookCast before, so this is going to be awesome. But first, before we actually do that, Noom, why don't you tell us all about Better Scenes? What services do you provide through the company? What's the goal? What's coming?
Yeah, so Better Scenes was kind of born out of a need of tools for myself. So it was kind of, as a streamer myself, stumbling through Streamlabs and Stream Elements and, you know, whatever else is out there, and trying to get things to work the way I wanted on Twitch. and not really being satisfied completely with what was there. And so my first product was just goal bars. The Streamlabs goal bars didn't do what I wanted them to do, and I was trying to make them do something else. I wanted them to reset when they finished instead of just needing to be deleted and recreated. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to make it myself. And that's kind of where a lot of my projects come from. They're born of frustration. And so usually for me, it solves a problem that I have, and the logic dictates that if it's solving a problem I have, it's going to solve something for somebody else out there. So yeah, I kind of pivoted my business into niche, what would you call them? Tools, I guess, for streamers, just trying to pad out what's already available and fill those little gaps. Because even though streaming is a massive growth industry, the companies are kind of lagging behind a little bit, and there's, I think, a lot of opportunity there to bring products to streamers that don't exist yet, or can be done in a better way or a different way. So that's kind of the driving force behind Better Scenes. It's to just make little tools that just make things a little better. They literally are meant to improve your scenes. That's how I came up with the name. So at the moment, we have some products on Streamlabs, on the App Store. We also do sort of bespoke products for streamers. We've had a few clients already for that. And now what our focus is, our flagship at the moment, is Better Points. And ideally, we would like to merge all of that together into sort of centralized dashboard, the way Streamlabs and Stream Elements work, where you sort of log in and you can do all of your widgets there. And I want all of our tools to just sort of exist on a dashboard. And that's essentially the long-term plan for Better Scenes, to just become a service that is your sort of one-stop shop for more specialized tools, and just sort of fill the gaps that exist out there in the world of streaming.
Right. That's awesome. I'll admit I've never used any of your Better Scenes stuff through Streamlabs because I don't use Streamlabs. Streamlabs is something I used a long time ago. Very much strictly on OBS now, but I do remember like learning about Better Points and just being so excited that there was a way that I could harness the channel points. And it's just cool to see like what else you've done. What do you have planned down the road? Like, I know Better Points is such a big focus right now, but what other thoughts do you have?
Yeah, so I guess short term, the goal is to just expand Better Points. There are a lot of things that I think you can do with channel points that nobody's doing. I mean, initially, nobody was doing anything with channel points. There was no API with Twitch, so it was kind of impossible. And I kind of bulled my way forward to just make something that worked, which is why we started with the browser extension. That was kind of a gray area. Nobody was really sure if that was against the terms of service or anything. But I just kind of went with it. And yeah, that kind of gave me a foot in the door with doing something with channel points, and controlling OBS, controlling the streamer software seemed like the obvious way to go. Like, you want events like you can have with your alerts, when somebody drops a donation or whatever, you play a certain sound. I wanted that kind of control with channel points. And we realized pretty early on that as soon as you only really need to give people a basic set of tools, change scenes and change visibility of a source in the scene. Once you've got that, you can practically do anything. It's up to the creativity of the streamer then. And so yeah, that's our short-term goals, is to just expand on what we let the streamer do with channel points. But beyond that, long-term for the company, every now and then I just have these sort of pie in the sky concepts of a dream, of what we could do in the distant future. And that's where I see better scenes really becoming a sort of centralized dashboard with better points in there, better goals in there, all of our other products. And I just keep expanding the tool set that's available. And we just slowly grow in that direction, and hopefully become, a household name in streaming. I'd love it if it was, on the lips of streamers when they're talking about how to set your stream up. Well, you need Streamlabs and you need better points. That would be fantastic.
Right. That would be awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, probably the question that is on a lot of people's minds is, what even is Better Points? And why did you make it? I think you kind of have already addressed why you made it, but simply, what is it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the story of why is, I guess I kind of glossed over it, but it's when channel points came out, it was very quickly obvious to me that I wasn't taking advantage of it. I don't think I had any redemptions. I had, the built-in ones, unlock an emote, modify an emote, and nobody was using them. And I couldn't think up anything cool because I wanted something more than just, drink some water or take a break or something. Yeah, I mean, they're great. But the reason those kinds of redemptions are great is because it allows the viewer to sort of reach through the screen and jump into the streamer's life and directly influence them. And I love that concept. And I think viewers love that concept. When they can get in the room with you and mess with you physically and make you do things that you may not otherwise have done. For example, hydrating as much as you should. It's a great form of interaction. But I didn't like that it wasn't automated. I didn't like that it was up to the streamer to then solve the problem. And even early before it was released as a product, Part-Time Triggered, Mark saw me using it, I think. And he said, how are you doing that? How are you getting channel points to control OBS? And I said, well, I've got this tool. It's really basic version. It's really crap. I can't give it to you, but I'm working on making a release for it. I'll give it to you as soon as I can. And he immediately took the initiative and made his own channel points to control his scenes, but he was using his Stream Deck to do it. So somebody would choose a redemption, and he would have to hit a button on his Stream Deck to play out this animation. And I just thought, like, that is so amazing to see it happening. And that to me was a clear sign that obviously we need a tool that lets you do that exact process. Let the viewers interact directly with OBS. And you can, limit what they can do. You're not going to let them just turn the stream off. I mean, you could if you wanted, but maybe a $1 million redemption to just end stream. I don't know.
I actually have been to a stream. There is a streamer out there that has. I don't think it's with Better Points specifically, but I have seen a channel point redemption to end the stream.
Yeah, me too. I think actually someone in the Nook has it, and it just so happened that somebody redeemed it towards the end of the stream anyway. So they were just like, all right, bye. And they just ended the stream and sort of shocked everyone. But yeah, so that's where it came about, was just me thinking, like, I've got to do something more with channel points. I need something unique that nobody else is doing.
Right.
And we went from there. So now, I mean, it's still unique. Twitch has released an API. People are making products that integrate with channel points. It's fantastic. But nobody is cornering this market. You still can't control OBS or Streamlabs with channel points.
Right.
So, if you want something unique for your stream, it's still unique. You can still do something that nobody else is doing on Twitch, which I think is really powerful in an industry that's oversaturated. You need to stand out, and tools like this are how you do it. So I guess what it is exactly, to go into the second question, is in simple terms, it allows you to control OBS with your channel points. You create a redemption, a custom reward is the language Twitch uses. Your viewers can then see that in the channel points list. They redeem it, and you decide what it does, and you can change scenes, toggle visibility sources, filters, move things. We've got all sorts of stuff in there. You can essentially just control OBS with your channel points, and you create what I call an event, which is a list of actions, and it just plays through these actions one after the other like a script. And you can make them as complex or as simple as you want. Play a video or go through this whole series of events, changing to different scenes and act out some story. So it's simple on the surface,
Right.
but as I said earlier, once you've got a hold of those tools, even though they're simple, the limitations are just your creativity.
Yeah.
So it has a lot of potential.
For sure. I think at this point, it's probably better that we actually have you kind of walk us through it a little bit. So
Yeah.
I will move to you sharing your screen. There we go. All right. And I will let you take the steering wheel now and give us an awesome demo and run through of Better Points.
I don't know if it's a good idea to give me the steering wheel, but we'll see how we go.
I'll grab it if I need to.
It's one of those driving instructor cars. You've got your own. So yeah, this is OBS. I've got a basic setup here. We just have two scenes. There's nothing fancy about it. I'll go into why we have two scenes, but this other one is called No Redemptions Allowed. It might be obvious. So I have a game capture scene. If you just imagine that this animation playing in the background, which is, I just want to note, provided by royalty-free Tube. They do have royalty-free looping videos on YouTube. I just need to give them credit where it's due. But if you just imagine that as the game playing in the background, and you wanted something to happen. So in this example, we've just got confetti. And I want that to play when somebody does the confetti redemption. So to start with, all you need to do is get over to the dashboard. So if you just go to better-points.com, it'll take you to the actual website. We can actually just go and have a quick look there, which you don't actually need to go to. You can just jump into it and use it for free if you just go straight to the dashboard, and you'll end up on this page. So the first thing you need is the reward created on Twitch, the custom reward. So for us, for Better Points to be able to modify those rewards, they have to be created through the dashboard. So any pre-existing rewards that you have, for example, I've got a posture check and a, waste your points kind of thing, we can't modify those on your behalf. So we can't handle the redemption, the rejection, or accepting the redemption, etc. You can't change the name or anything like that. So you start by creating your own, and we'll just do a new one, and I'll just call it confetti. We'll set the cost to 100. We'll leave that color like it is. You can limit the number of times it's redeemed. You can limit the number of times each user can redeem it. And we just save that. And so we have our new event there, our custom reward there. And the next step is to tell Better Points what you would like to happen in OBS. So we create an OBS event, and we'll call this Confetti Blast. And in this instance, we only want it to work on one scene, and that's in our game capture scene. You can actually set this up to work in multiple scenes if you want, but we don't want it to work in the No Redemptions Allowed scene. So we're just selecting game capture. You can also just allow it to work in every scene, but for now, we'll just go with game capture. And you can also set a cooldown. I'll leave that off for now. We don't need it for now.
It's nice that you've, sorry, just to butt in a little bit. It's nice that you've allowed the option to do all scenes or none, because I know that, a lot of people, I think most of us tend to have all of our redemptions just strictly on like our gameplay scene. Whereas, when we're on our chatting scene, we just prefer to not have any interruptions. We just want to talk to chat and talk to the viewers coming in, and not have like, all this stuff go off. We save the redemptions for when we're like in the thick of the game, gameplay's happening, and then all of a sudden someone redeems confetti, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And the benefit of this too is you can basically, like, let's say you just duplicate your game capture scene and give it a different name, like put No Redemptions after it. It allows you to create a scene for, say, touching moments when maybe you really don't want confetti going off. Let's say your favorite character has just died and you're really sad. It's not funny when someone, I mean, it's probably hilarious to them, but it might ruin the moment. You know, it might change the tone of the content you're trying to make. Confetti during a touching death scene may not be appropriate for your channel. So you can just pop over to that scene, and if it's a duplicate, nobody knows. Nobody can tell that you've transitioned into a new scene, but the redemptions just don't work. And the way Better Points works is it's intelligent enough to know that the redemption didn't work. So it will say, hey, they were in the wrong scene. We need to give the points back to the viewer. And it actually rejects that redemption and they get their points back automatically. And actually a feature that we have coming in the future, or that we hope to have, is it will also know what scene you're on and what redemptions are allowed in that scene, and it will change whether or not they're visible to the viewer, which I think is really, I don't know if I can bring that.
So it'll automatically hide the redemptions from the list of redemptions if it doesn't apply at that moment.
Yep.
So that's going to save the whole issue of like someone redeeming something and the streamer going, oh, it doesn't work on this scene. Sorry, you're going to have to wait. You got your points back though.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
And this lends to the fact that I use this product and I built it initially for myself. So when I stumble across issues or things that I want to try or things that I think would make it better, I can add them in as features. And this is one of them because I have that exact problem. I start the stream and people are immediately doing the redemptions, and I will be in the just chatting scene and I'll be like, guys, that doesn't work on this scene. But yeah, in future, it just won't show up in the list if you're in the wrong scene, which I think will be really helpful.
That's a fantastic idea because I think every streamer that uses Better Points has had that happen at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, people get excited and that's great. But yeah, if there was a way, just a way to prevent that's super awesome. I really like that.
Yeah. So the next step is setting what you want OBS to do, and these are the kinds of things that you can do with Better Points. So we can change what scene we're on. We can return back to whatever scene we started on. So this is if you had a large list of allowed scenes, and let's say you were not in game capture, you were in just chatting, and you wanted it to change to another scene, but then come back to just chatting. That's how you do that. You just use return to start scene. There's a pause. Like I said earlier, it plays through the list of actions sort of as a, what's the word? Yeah, it's an activity list. And so that puts a pause step in between each action. So you can go to a scene, pause there, then come back. Then we have source properties. So this is for setting visibility, position, scale, and rotation. These can't be animated just yet, but they will be in future. So you'll actually be able to move things around the screen if you want.
That's going to be
awesome. Some good examples. Yeah, I'm excited for the motion one because there's a lot of funny stuff you can do when you can actually move things across the screen.
Mm-hmm.
These are handy for, say, moving your webcam out of the way. I get a lot of complaints about my face cam being in front of the UI, and I'm stubborn and I refuse to move it from the bottom left corner. So I'm going to create a redemption that will let the viewers move me for a period of time, and it will just send my camera to a different corner. But I'm also going to create a redemption that will allow them to move it back. So I'm sure that
chat can fight about where you are.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of the basic one that I tend to use for everything. This is what we'll use for the confetti to make our confetti appear because it's just sitting in the game capture. So we select the scene that it's in. We select the source, which for us is confetti video. We want it to become visible. Obviously, it's positioned in the top left and the scale is at 1, and that's perfectly fine. Then we want to wait for a period of time. I'm just going to say 5 seconds. I think that's enough. And then we want it to become invisible again to reset it. Okay, and that's it. All you need to do then is link the reward itself up to the event. There's our confetti blast. And then if I head back to OBS, fingers crossed, live demos almost never work. Fingers crossed things will just work as expected for once. Viewer, hopefully, viewer uses the redemption. We see it end up in our reward queue. And it's not going to work, of course.
It never works for a demo, right?
No.
It's always when you're not showing that it'll work.
Probably a really obvious reason for it that I'm missing, but I don't see it. Oh, okay. I think we have a bug, but that's fine. I'll do the same. I'll do the same. So it's really this is a good way to show that it's really easy to modify these things. I can just change an already existing event. To use that confetti. So now I should be able to go back here.
While you're doing that, I'll answer Red's question in chat. Yes, you can have a redemption to 2 different scenes as long as you're, and correct me if I'm wrong, Noom, but as long as your source is named exactly the same and it's exactly the same, you can set multiple scenes to 1 redemption. Like multiple scenes to 1 event, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'll show you on the dashboard. When you create a reward, we can have this. We just have a bug at the moment, which is
Did
unfortunate.
Twitch update their UI again?
I don't think it was Twitch this time. I think it's just me. But that's fine. Yeah, you can create multiple. I think this. I'll just actually read the question because I think I'm explaining it right. But
yeah, can you link a redemption to 2 different scenes?
I don't know which one to use depending on. Not, I don't think quite in the way that you're thinking, but there are ways to do what you want. Like you can do in OBS, you can do the nested scenes. So we can just have what I do is just create a global redemptions scene and then add that in. And then you can have this redemption scene across all of your scenes quite easily. Oh, if you can get it to copy paste.
Once you start nesting scenes, then it just becomes like scenes into scenes into scenes. I remember learning it. Oh my gosh, I remember learning about nested stuff. And then I was like, oh boy, I'm down the OBS rabbit hole, I feel like. But it is handy though, especially if you have like a lot of the same things across multiple scenes. It is just nice to have like one scene with all that stuff in it and then just copy the scene over into other.
Yeah.
Hey man, I heard you like scenes within your scenes.
I'm honestly not sure why this isn't working for me. It's because it knows that we're live. It's
100%. Yeah. It's like, haha, you want to demo this to a bunch of people? Good luck with that.
Yeah, when in doubt, just refresh the page. I'll give it another go, and if it's not going to work, we can just move on.
All right.
Oh, of course, it's on cooldown.
Well, while we're talking, like while we're figuring that out, I was going to ask you like, what can you do with it? I think this is a good opportunity for maybe like you and I to just discuss some of the redemptions that we've set up on our own channels. Maybe talk about types of redemptions that we've seen on other channels, like a fellow Nookians, or maybe even people outside of the Nook. Just like we can talk about the different like creative approaches that people have taken with it.
Yeah. Mine vary from very simple to very complex. I think probably my most used one is the shut up, and the description is literally just tell Noom to shut up, and it just plays a short clip of Squidward slapping me in the face, and it's simple but effective, and everybody loves it. And then on the other end of the scale, I have a scene where you see Thanos snap the Infinity Gauntlet, and I fade away to dust, and it's very complex. It's 9 actions, so there's a lot going on in that one. But even that I think is probably beyond what, or not even up to what other people have created. I've seen some really interesting stuff out there. I know a lot of the Nook have some really neat redemptions. I like a lot of part-time triggers. And your pet, did you make the pet the KL?
So Pet KL, which then became also Pet Mork, or Pet the Mork, I should say. So Mark and I both have very similar redemptions where you redeem to pet us. So I started it, but what mine was I just had the Pet Peepo video playing in the corner. So the redemption originally was just show source, pause for however long the video was, and then hide source. That was it. And then Mark was the one that created the transparent petting hand and decided to just take it one step further and actually have the hand go over top of him and pet him. And then I was like, oh man, I wish I would have thought of that. And Mark gave me permission to do it, so I did. And then he took his one level further, and he has like a rainbow effect over him, and then he goes all 4 corners of his scene and then zooms in and takes up the whole scene throughout the whole song.
Yeah.
Whereas mine is just how I have it is someone redeems it. The song immediately starts playing, but nothing happens on screen. So that's just activating one of the sources, which is the song. Pauses for a bit, and then after that pause is over, then it shows the visibility of the hand. The song is still playing, and then it pauses. And I've timed it really well so that, the hand appears at a certain point in the song, and then both go away as soon as the hand goes away as soon as the song is done. People don't redeem the pet in my channel nearly as much as the one in Mark's, because Mark's is definitely a lot more visually appealing. But both of our communities love the pet redemption. And then honestly, probably my most other popular one is the swap swap game and Ella cam. So if you guys have been to my stream, I've got a permanent pet cam on my stream. And I have a redemption where it just makes the Ella cam big in the background and makes the game small. It just reverts the two. So you're basically just swapping the position of both. So it's a way for people to just make my game small temporarily and go, I want to look at Ella for the next 30 seconds instead of your game.
I think you were part of the very first group of users that I had, and honestly, that is my favorite redemption out of all of the ones that I've seen. I just love being able to come in, and I'll do it every time I can too. I just love being able to come in and just watch Ella for a little bit. She's the real content, not the gameplay.
Yep. And then I also I've always had a redemption to give Ella peanut butter. It happens once a stream. People come in and redeem it pretty much right away. Before Better Points, it was just the redemption, and that was it. And then what I did was I made a video of Ella to the song Peanut Butter Jelly Time, and I replaced Jelly with Ella with my voice. So now when someone redeems Nutella, it plays a video going, Peanut Butter Ella Time, Peanut Butter Ella Time.
That's amazing.
And then it just plays in the corner. And I'm just like, that's just an easy way to just have it be a little bit more fun. And then I also have a hello redemption, similar to yours, Noom, where someone comes in, redeems a hello for a super cheap amount. I think mine is like 100. Someone comes in, redeems the hello. Mine plays the Mrs. Doubtfire hello with the cake over the face. And yours is a sound clip that plays, right?
Yeah, well, I actually made a video in After Effects, which has been a lot of fun, and it's where I'm focusing a lot of my attention on my stream at the moment, is creating transparent background like WebMs to play over the top or etc. And it's actually the little worm guy from Worms. what's the latest one? Weapons of Mass Destruction or whatever. It's like Worms Armageddon. And he shoots the grappling hook up and he swings across the screen, and they have a little voice bite where they go, hello. And so it just plays and he swings across the screen. It's very, I really love it because it's not disruptive. I can completely ignore it if I need to, but it gives the viewer that satisfaction that they're having an effect, and they see it immediately. But it also alerts me that there's somebody here and they're saying hi. So you can very quickly greet people, without having an eye on chat. You have this audio cue that someone has shown up, and I think you understand that. If you hear Mrs. D, you hear Robin Williams scream hello every time someone says hi. It becomes quite obvious that they're there.
Yeah.
There are a few actual interesting tricks that you can do with the channel points. Twitch obviously puts in a fair amount of effort to make channel points visible to viewers. And what they'll do when you join a channel for the first time and you earn enough channel points to get by the first threshold, so if you've got enough to purchase the first redemption, they will show that in a special pop-up. So what I've done, and this is what I would recommend most people do, order your channel points by cost. Have one that is 300 points and none cheaper than 300. When somebody follows, they get given 300 points for following. The chat will immediately prompt them to say hello with their channel points, or to use their channel points for the first time. And if that is your greeting, 9 times out of 10, they're immediately going to click it, because it gives them a built-in button right above chat, and it makes it really easy for them to do. And so it just immediately redeems the greeting. And I found that that's really simple but valuable way to onboard users. The first thing that they do is interact with the stream, and they see better points, which is unique on Twitch, and they're immediately engaged. And 9 times out of 10, I get someone who follows, uses that redemption straight away, and then tells me, wow, that's cool, how did you do that? Or that was awesome. And it gives you a chance to start talking to them immediately as well, and they just feel involved in the stream very early on.
Sure.
So all of my redemptions like that actually scale up in cost, and so Twitch kind of hands it to them as they're there for longer and longer. It'll show them like, hey, you should do this now. And they can work their way through the redemptions as they stay in the channel longer, and it gives them something to work towards. So it makes them want to stay to get that next reward to play. They want to see what that one does. But yeah, it's kind of gamifies the viewing experience, which is the whole point of channel points. It's that little bit of gamification. You're earning points by watching.
Well, it's nice, there are streamers that I try and go to daily, and despite the fact that I've been there a million times before, Twitch will still remind me, hey, did you know that you can redeem this very particular channel point with your 75,000 points? And it's just yeah, Twitch, I did know. Or, well, in the case of if you've been to a channel for the first time, like you were saying, yeah, it's going to prompt them. I like that Twitch has done it for...
It's working for me.
Hey!
Sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to show, you can see that the redemption came into the reward queue. The confetti played, and now the redemption is gone because the confetti worked, and Better Points basically went in and clicked that approve button. But nice. There you go. There's the demo. It worked.
The other thing I just wanted to mention, we did get raided. Zenfrox, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, everybody. I put some information in chat just to quickly introduce you to what we're doing here. This is the NookCast. It's a live podcast that myself and Joe Crastination run. Joe, unfortunately, is not here today, but in today's episode, we're interviewing fellow Nookian, Noom TV, who is the creator of Better Points, which is a service that you can get to enhance your stream and allow chat to control aspects of your stream via channel points. So if you want to learn more about that and see more demos, stick around, and we're happy to have you here. All right.
Yeah, I'm not much of a replacement for Joe. He's got a much sexier voice than me, but we'll have to make do, I think.
I don't think... Oh, Joe has one of the nicest voices on the team.
It's so... that's a pretty big call, Kay. You sure you can make such a bold statement? Tug's voice is pretty good,
I said one
right?
of the.
Well, okay.
I didn't say
that's
the
fair.
best.
That's fair. Yeah, he's right up there. It's just something about the tone, or it's just, I don't know. It's very soothing. I love hanging out in his streams.
That,
Actually.
and he's got his microphone, and all the settings
Yes.
involved set to really enhance his voice and just make it sound
Yes.
super professional. Very much a radio voice that guy has.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So, was there any other demo that you wanted to do? Like, did you want to show off a more complicated one,
I don't
or
know if I really have one. I'll just pop over to my actual streaming setup.
there we go. So many scenes.
Oh yeah, I've got a lot going on. This is a sneak behind the scenes look. Actually, I don't think
Behind
anybody
the
gets to
scenes
see
of
this
Noon
normally.
TV right now. It's here. It is here. It's the only
Yeah.
place you'll get to see it.
I'm just wondering what a good one is. I just remade this actually. This is one of my mod's absolute favorite. He's obsessed with using this one. Where is it? So it's just called Boom, and it actually plays audio, but the audio is not going to come through because we're not really set up. I don't think it's going to come through anyway. But basically, it just I don't know if you've played Counter-Strike, but when the terrorists plant the bomb in Counter-Strike, you get that audio clip and it goes, the bomb has been planted or something like that. Yeah, it just plays that.
I love this one so much.
And then I'm gone. And that's a key to a lot of my redemptions. It gets me off the screen, and I give them about 15, 20 seconds with no cam. And I also don't talk. So I think people like it for a mix of reasons. One of them is the interaction with me, but also it gets rid of me for a little bit. So if they're not happy with what I'm saying, they just explode me or Thanos snap me away or whatever. But yeah, that's probably my favorite, and it's not necessarily the most complex one. It's literally just playing a video, hiding my webcam, waiting for a period of time, bringing the webcam back. There's some other ones that sort of highlight the interesting things you can do. There we go. That just squishes me, which is always fun. And I think like a big part of this too, and I get a lot of positive feedback on this. I act all of these out. I get silly and I act as if I've just been crushed by an anvil. When someone sets the bomb off, I look into the camera and I scream. Tiny little things like
slap,
that.
The shut up Noom. You actually twist your head. You know that one so well that you know when the slap is going to happen and you're ready, and you just like turn your head as if you've actually been slapped, and it's awesome.
The funny one with that is it took me forever to get the direction right, and I kept getting slapped the wrong way, and I could not figure it out. And it took me a while, and I got it. But then I had my wife on stream, and she obviously has no experience with it, so she would go the other direction, and so we were both getting slapped by Squidward all over the place. It was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I think just those little touches are really, like, again, Twitch is about finding ways to stand out and just be that little bit unique somehow. We're all out here basically doing the same thing. We're playing games and we're chatting. And it's easy to do, well, it's not easy to do that well. Doing that well is the first step, but then there are still 100,000 other people doing that part well, and you have to find some way to really get above the curve. And I think acting things out, especially with your redemptions, and really like selling it, even if you're just being silly, sort of elevates it that extra little bit, I think.
Red makes a good point. Red makes a good point in the comments mentioning that, a lot of yours are possible because you have a green screen, but it's definitely an option to use better points for people who don't. And one of my friends actually has a very, very simple, just flip the camera redemption. He doesn't use a green screen. Literally nothing about the scene changes. His webcam border is still there, and all that happens is his camera just flips upside down. I think it pauses for maybe 30 or 45 seconds and then flips back. And that's like a very simple... I've got a flip one as well. It just takes me and flips me from the bottom of my screen all the way up to the top. And because I have another OBS plugin, I have an OBS plugin that allows for like motion of your sources from one scene to the next. So because of that, it actually like as my camera changes from bottom to top, it actually flips my camera. Like there's a flip motion that goes with it. It's not just a simple, like it's not like I'm down here and then all of a sudden I'm up there.
Yeah,
Like there's
actually
actually a
it animates
transition
it.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I use the same plugin, and you can really take advantage of it in combination with Better Points. And that's
Yeah.
the cool thing, I guess, is that Better Points plays fine with any other plugins you're using. But I do the same thing with where is it?
It works for the swap as well, because then you actually see the Elecam like go bigger and the game goes smaller, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's
it
much.
does this, and I stay still. Like that's the best part is like I don't change, and the chat like
Yeah.
because I've got my chat on screen permanently on my stream. Like the chat doesn't change. It's literally just those two sources just go whoop, and they have this
Yeah.
fun little zooming effect that goes with it. So yeah, Better Points plus that plugin. I can't remember the exact name. It's something like motion
effect, I
but
think.
yeah. So
This is an example of where I use it. So normally when the Redemption is playing, when the shell hits me, I change scenes, and moving from this scene to the next, I've enabled the motion plugin. So it actually is just moving my camera down and left off screen, but I've set up, and flips it upside down. So when the motion effect plugin does the transition, I actually flip off the screen like that. So when the green shell hits me, it's actually like I've been hit by it,
right.
and plays that animation. I also, with the anvil one that squishes me, that's using the motion effect plugin.
Yep.
And that's how I make the squish happen. I just toggle between two scenes that changes the scaling, and that's it.
That's awesome. Clavicus actually asked the question that I was going to ask you next. Clavicus, you read my mind. Nicely done. Does it work with Stream Elements OBS?
Unfortunately, no, at the moment. There's no way for us to easily do it. We would need to make a Streamlabs app. It's on the agenda. It's on our to-do list, but our priority right now is to just get more features out and increase the value of the product as much as possible, and to get it on Streamlabs OBS. Also, the question was Stream Elements. Yeah, you use OBS Live, right, KL?
Yep.
Sorry, I think you were muted.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
And it works fine for you?
I read that question out loud, and I also thought it was asking about Streamlabs OBS. That was my bad. I use OBS Live. That's more of just a like OBS Live is really just like a Stream Elements activity feed. I don't think that has any effect on Better Points at all.
Yeah, I think it's essentially
still
just OBS.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But Streamlabs OBS, yes.
So
nothing for it, but
yeah, I'll continue to talk about Streamlabs OBS in a second, because I think it's also important to mention. But with OBS.live, it's still essentially OBS, but the key component for Better Points is the WebSockets OBS plugin, which ends up looking like this once you've got it installed. If you can install that, then you can use Better Points. Better Points doesn't care really, as long as it can get this OBS this WebSocket server to connect to. It's happy. So it should be fine with OBS Live, because OBS Live still uses the OBS plugins. So yeah, if you're already using OBS plugins, you're probably just fine, and it will work just fine. But yeah, back to Streamlabs OBS, which, if you're not familiar with it, it's still OBS under the hood, but they have built a whole new UI over the top. And it operates sort of fundamentally different from OBS. It doesn't allow OBS plugins, and they have their own app store. And that's basically how you do plugins, is via their app store. We, as a company, have some products on the app store, and we have plans to create a Streamlabs app for Better Points that will effectively do the same thing. It's just going to control Streamlabs instead of OBS. It's still going to communicate with Twitch and our servers in the same way. But that's just a project that needs to happen, and it will take a certain amount of development time that we just don't have the resources to do in parallel. So it's just going to have to happen
So would
at
that
some stage
be
in the
so
future.
creating that app for the Streamlabs store? That would essentially be you creating your version of the OBS WebSockets plugin, like something to talk between.
Kind of. Streamlabs are kind of responsible for that bit.
Okay.
It would be for communicating between our servers, which listen to Twitch, and passing our events from our servers down to Streamlabs, and then telling Streamlabs to change scenes via their sort of implementation of the WebSockets.
Right.
But yeah, it's just that it's a whole project in its own right, and our focus needs to be elsewhere. We're a very small team, and yeah, we can really only work on one project at a time. We don't have the resources to split our attention like that.
Yeah. It's
but
kind of
one
similar.
day it'll come.
It kind of reminds me, like, it's probably not exact, but it kind of like the analogy that I think of is like when someone's creating an app. You've got your Apple store, and then you've got like the Google Play store and like Android. You've got like two very different, and you have to tweak for each, right?
Exactly.
They're not the same at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And what happens as well in those instances is you have users who are used to a system operating a certain way. So iOS users expect a button to be in the top right. Android users don't use a button in the top right. This is just a vague example. The same sort of thing applies between OBS and Streamlabs. So it can't be a direct copy of Better Points. It has to be tailored to people who are familiar with how Streamlabs works, and it has to be able to operate within the Streamlabs app window, which is obviously different to our browser. So it would be fundamentally different. But
Right.
They also have their own payment model. So we have to figure all of that out. Because Better Points is actually a subscription service.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's probably a good segue into the next
good
point.
segue into what is the cost to have Better Points?
Yeah. So it does work for free. We do have a free trial system. Effectively, you can use it. You can do most things with the free version. So the free version limits you to 2 events. So just 2 of these event types. And the events can have 3 actions in them. But with the 3 actions, you can kind of do almost anything you would need. For example, you can change to a scene, pause for a period of time, come back. That's 3 actions. Make something visible, pause, make it not visible, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of things can be done if you try and boil an event down to its sort of bare bones. Or if you're creative with, say, After Effects or Premiere Pro or whatever, you take all of your actions that you would normally have and condense them into a single clip that just plays in your overlay. You can then make your OBS event then quite simple, which is what I've done with a lot of mine. Some of mine started out very complex. The bomb one, for example, was very complex, but now it just plays a video and hides the cam. It's not 3 actions because it's still a little more complex than that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of them are just 3. So yeah, that's the limitation of the free version. The reason we do that is because there's actually overhead. We run a server that needs to subscribe to your Twitch events and pass events down to you. We've got a database to store all of your settings. There's all sorts of stuff going on that has a running cost. So to fund future development, continued development, and also to keep everything working and maintained,
Right.
we have a fee there. But I think it's pretty reasonable. I spent a long time thinking about. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to chime in. Like from a customer perspective, I always appreciate free trials, especially ones that are like a good amount of time, like longer than a week. To really just get in and get your feet wet. Like I know somebody that has your free version and has loved it, and they're gonna end up subscribing. They may already have. So just from a consumer perspective, offering a free version that gives you access to the whole thing, just limits the amount, is amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that you do that because it allows people to set up 2 redemptions or 2 events rather, to give it a test spin and see how it works. Right. So
yeah, I've actually found people who are more than content with just 2 as well. And that's all they need. And the 3 actions per event is fine as well, because they just show a GIF and it plays for a few seconds and then that's it. And they're really happy with that. And they really only want those 2. So I tried really hard to find a good middle ground where it was fair, but also like
Well, you should get paid
my
for your work
business
at
needs
the
to
end of the
make
day.
exactly, yeah, it's
It's
got
a
to
lot
make
of
money.
work.
It's the bottom line, and it's such a tough topic sometimes for
Mhm.
people. Everybody wants everything for free, and it's
Well, the
I've
other
had people complain about the subscription model, and it's like, well, I pay subscriptions too to
right.
keep the software running. So,
Well, not
like,
only to keep the software running, but the amount of times that I've talked to you and you're just like, oh, Twitch has done another update and now I have to go in and update better points in order for it not to break.
yeah,
Like that's the thing is because you're integrated with a whole other website and a whole other service, like anytime they go in and change and update things on their back end, like you're gonna have to too.
yeah,
And it's so if this was something where it was a one-time cost, like then you have to rely on like your business then only relies on new people, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So like I get that argument. Like I know that a lot of things are going subscription based nowadays, but for issues or not issues, for situations like this where there's ongoing maintenance, you're obviously making it better. Because I've been subscribed
yeah.
to Better Points for a while now. I think I subscribed to it in May or April. I had
Mm.
like just joined the
It,
Nook. So like
yeah, it
I've been on
released
Better
in
Points for
April.
a while. Like I've been on Better Points since
Yeah,
before it was this website.
yeah,
And there was no
yeah. I
website
think
dashboard.
you were one of the first subscribers. I think very, very
I
early
love
on.
it. Like I absolutely love it. I have since the
Yeah.
very beginning. Yeah. And I think the cost is very reasonable. So we'll get into what it
Mm.
actually costs if you want to get the whole thing.
Yeah, so if you just want to do monthly, month by month, like if you just wanted to try a month out, and you can cancel. There's no strings. I'm a kind of no BS kind of guy. So it's straight up. It's $5 a month. To me, that seemed fair as a Twitch viewer because that's what you pay for a subscription. And I was kind of like, that seems like a good barrier for streamers and viewers. That's a healthy number. This is US dollars, by the way. But if you go a year and you just pay for a year straight up, it brings it down to $3 a month. So it's only $36 to have it for a year. And in my mind, when you're streaming, I really only plan for about a year anyway. So to me, that's kind of like a lifetime purchase. In 12 months, if I'm still streaming and I'm still using and enjoying this product, $36 probably won't seem that bad in 12 months. But you've got a whole year to figure it out. So that was the logic behind that. But $3 a month, I think is pretty reasonable. I'd
Well,
like to
especially
think that
because you
most
have
streamers can afford that.
unlimited events and unlimited activities. I
Yeah,
definitely agree that that's reasonable.
yeah, and the subscription also pays for ongoing development. Like you were saying before, it has come a long way since the first release,
Mhm.
and we have so much planned. And it will just continue to grow. And that's my goal for now, is to give people as much value as possible for that $5 a month or 36 for the year. I really want them to, when they subscribe, to just be like, wow, actually this is really valuable. I'm really happy to be paying for it, and make the fee seem more like you're supporting the developers rather than
Mhm.
gaining access to a product. Just have that difference be so big where it's like, becomes insubstantial. But yeah, that's why there's a price, and that's how much it costs. As you said, the free version doesn't limit you to what you can do. You still have access to all of the action types. It just limits you to the
The amount.
complexity. So
Yeah.
how many of those things you can have. And that's about it. So if you do just want to test it out, the free version lets you see the full range of features there.
Yeah. And you're right. Like when I think about my redemptions, I'm pretty confident the only one that has any complexity to it is the pet one, just because the song starts before the visual appears. I think all of the
Yeah.
rest of mine are something appears or disappears, pauses, and then reappears, switches back to
Yeah.
returns to the scene that it was on. One thing too, that because you mentioned that the events and the activities are, you can connect them to sources. One thing that I should mention, because I didn't think I realized initially that it was possible, and then as I was fiddling with it, I was like, oh, this is a thing. You can connect your channel points to filter views on and off as well, like filters of a source. So like I have a redemption where it's hide me. But instead of me going completely away, I've just added a color correction. I think it's a color correction filter. It's something to make me disappear, but my outline is still here, and it basically just turns me black. And the opacity, I think, is 50%. So you can see through me and you can see the game behind me, but you can still see me, but not see me. Like it's one of those,
Yeah.
I didn't just want myself to disappear fully from my overlay. I still wanted to be there in a way, but just not be there. Joe has a similar
Yeah,
one
I
as
like
well.
that. Oh, does he have it as a
Yeah.
redemption? Because I've seen him do that in cutscenes, and I think that's a genius idea. He actually has like a
I think you're right. I think he has it in a cutscene. So if when his game goes into a cutscene, he'll like press a button on the stream deck and kind of hide himself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really clever. I think what he does is he always sort of has a drop shadow behind him, where it's kind of him fully blacked out, his outline fully blacked out, semi-transparent, and you can even put a bit of a blur on it. So you look like you've got a shadow and you're sitting a little bit in front of the game. And I think when he goes to his cutscene scene, he just removes his webcam and that shadowy outline is still there. It's really effective and really, really quite clever. But I love the idea of having it hooked up to a redemption. It's really good.
So that's the thing too, is like, because it took me a bit to figure out that you could attach redemption or filters to it as well. So being that you can have you can control a filter view or a filter on or off, then that opens you up to a bunch of things, because there are a bunch of OBS plugins out there that add more filters to that list of filters that you can add to a source.
Yeah.
Right. So there's just
and it's
the creativity is endless here.
Any filter too, so audio as well, meaning you can set up VST plugins, which if there are any audio nerds out there, hopefully they understand why that is super exciting. But having access to VST plugins is like gives you limitless potential with your audio, and you can connect that to channel points too. So you could there's just about anything you can do, honestly. Because of the filters. There are so many filters. It's really cool.
Yeah. Cool. Well, awesome. Thank you for going over the cost. I know that cost is one of those things that I find sometimes when people are talking about their products, they either leave it for last or they try and avoid talking about it. But appreciate the transparency and explaining the two different cost options with Better Points. Future plans for Better Points. What's coming down the pipeline? Do you want to give us like a sneak?
Yeah.
So peek. I don't know if you're gonna show anything, but
I can't show anything because it's not at a state to be demoed. Would be nice, but we're not quite there yet. But in the next couple of weeks, we'll have a new feature dropping, and this is an inside scoop. Nobody else knows about this. We're going to have text-to-speech library implemented, so you'll actually be able to. I think on some redemptions you can send a message. For example, with my one here, you can type in a message, and it actually shows up here. We'll have a text-to-speech module that will actually read those out, the same way that Streamlabs does with alerts and whatnot.
So a free way to TTS troll streamers.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
That's awesome.
Because of the way Twitch handles the channel points, you can set a cooldown. You can set a per user cooldown. Right. You can set the number of times it can be redeemed. So you can really sort of control how invasive that is, and you can keep it sort of.
That's going to be lovely because, I know that sometimes chats will, maybe during a hype train or otherwise, I've actually been involved in like 3 of them this week or 2 of them this past week, where we got on a roll with TTS with bits, just trolling the streamer, right? And those are super fun, but they're fun for people that have the money and have the bits to be able to do that. So this is going to be a great way for streamers to allow people that don't have bits or maybe don't like to buy bits because of the premium that Twitch puts on them. It'll give them a way to be involved with that. And that's so great. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah. I think also what it will do as a sort of flow-on effect is it may trigger those kinds of what do you call like mob activity where everybody gets hyped up together,
right.
you might do a channel point redemption with TTS and it's really funny, and the voice does that really funny thing where you can make it sound like a sprinkler or whatever, that word that it mispronounces just right. You could do that, and that might prompt somebody else to do it with bits over on Streamlabs, and you can then set off those kinds of things that just kind of organically happen, but then will domino or snowball into a big hype train or something like that. And there is evidence. Is it Zach Bussey, who he's on Twitter? He does a lot of investigation into, for example, how many streamers were partnered in a X month period. I think he did an experiment where they took 100 streamers and they analyzed them over a period of time, and they looked at what streamers were doing when they became partnered and what they did differently from everybody else. One of the things that he zeroed in on was engagement and making use of unique tools, and one of those was channel points. He found that a large portion of the streamers that were successful on the platform and had a good growth projection were using channel points. So I think not only does it help with growth because you're more engaged, but it also can help with monetization. And I think tricks like that, using it to play the text to speech, which might then by association encourage somebody to do the same thing with bits, is a neat way to help build on monetization of your channel. And I'm not going to sit here and say better points will increase your income. I'm not going to say that, but I think that there is definitely going to be a correlation between you making full use of your channel points with a tool like this or some other tool. There are other tools that work with channel points to enhance the viewer experience. I think it will increase your chance of success on the platform. I think these kinds of things are vital personally.
Oh, for sure. And I don't know, I find, there's a few streamers that I watch where I've racked up an insane amount of channel points in their channel, and I'm disappointed because I have nothing that I feel good to spend them on. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I hate saying that, but it's true. Like there are some streamers out there that really have not made a super huge use of their channel points. And, it's basically like, there's been the analogy to like gambling, right? It's kind of points that you're earning that you can spend on, and there's certain things that become kind of like addicting with it, right? But, so for me, it's like for those streamers, I'm kind of just hanging on to them until maybe they introduce some stuff that, and that's why I think it's good to have a healthy mix of like low redemption stuff for those new followers to get engaged right away. The mid-range stuff for like your more active viewers that are there all the time, something for people to save up to. And then I also like, having a good healthy variety of like those bigger ones, like the 100,000 plus or the 80,000 plus points, right? Which take a pretty significant time to accrue if you're not subbed, or even if you're tier 1 sub now after that whole change to the multiplier, which I'm still a little bit bitter about.
Only 1.2 times now. It's like a 20% increase now, which is pretty bogus. But I mean, they need to add more value to the tier 2 and 3 subs. So that's a step in the right direction.
It is.
I think.
It is. Yeah. It just sucks when you have two plus and then they take that away. It's like, okay, you could have made tier 2 and 3 higher than 2 plus. You could have gone 2.5 and 3 maybe, or 3 and 4. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But sweet.
Yeah, on the topic of not utilizing channel points, even just as a regular viewer, but now as the creator of better points, when I go to a channel and they literally just have all of the default redemptions, I'm almost pulling my hair out, just being like, well, why? Why aren't you doing something? Just have anything there, please. There's no point in having it enabled. The basic Twitch stuff is fine, but it's never that good. And it just frustrates me, and I want to just like scream at them, please, I'll go and use better points, please. I'll give it to you for free. Oh, that reminds me. We forgot to talk about the discount. I have a promo code right
Oh,
now until the end of
yes.
January. And I'll just put it, maybe we can just put it in chat.
Oh,
if I can
well,
just
that's
find
not
a
the right
tweet.
command. There we go. I'll put Better Points link in there again. And is it a code or what is your discount?
Yeah, it's a promo code and it's 20% off any purchase. So if you buy for the year up front, that's 20% off the $36, whatever that comes to.
It's a pretty good discount.
I'm just finding the tweet because it's in a tweet.
That's $7.20 off.
$7.20 off. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good bargain. But yeah, it's valid until the end of January. So if you use that during sign up or during purchase, you'll see during checkout on the left hand side while you're checking out through Stripe, there's a way to put in a promo code there. So if you use that promo code, you'll get 20% off.
Perfect.
Yes.
I somehow just completely glossed over those words in my notes. Talk about
Yeah,
current
well, I
promo
did too.
discount.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Glad we mentioned it though.
That's fine. Yeah.
Do you, before I might transition back to the other scene, is there anything else that you wanted to demo? I think we
no,
covered.
I think that's about it.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for demoing.
I don't think we need the screen share.
I'm glad that we got that to work. I was a bit nervous being like, can I get Noom's camera and Noom's screen in my OBS? And we can, so it's good. All right, so I want you to talk a little bit about like how soon after Twitch launched channel points did Better Points come to mind? I know that you mentioned at the very start of today's episode that, you know, you kind of talked about when Twitch launched channel points, but maybe go like into a little bit more about that a little bit.
Yeah, it was pretty soon after. I think they sort of rolled it out slowly. You know how they do that system where certain people get it earlier, and I didn't get it for a little while, I think until the public release. And I sat on my hands for a while trying to come up with ideas, and I just couldn't. I was completely stumped. Like I was saying, I didn't want just simple stuff like I didn't want to feel obliged to do something.
Right.
Like some people do push-ups, and that's great, but that's not for me. I'm not going to jump up and do push-ups when someone says to.
And it's also disrupting sometimes, depending on what the streamer plays.
Yeah.
Like, you know, for me being a story RPG streamer, like I'm not about to do any kind of exercise. I have sit and stand, and that's it.
Yeah.
You can change my desk.
I like that one a lot, actually. I like the way Tug uses it too. I think the first time his was redeemed, he put the desk into standing mode, but he didn't stand up. I like that.
That's the way to do it.
He was like, what? What? I didn't say I would stand. But yeah, it wasn't too long after that. I was chatting with a friend. I'm just trying to think of his Twitch handle, and I'm drawing a complete blank now, which is really bad. Gosh, I'm sure I have his name here somewhere. It's going to come to me at like 4 a.m. tomorrow. Anyway, half the credit of the idea goes to him, because we were brainstorming together about how it might be possible to do something like control OBS, change scenes with channel points, or do something.
Right.
And we started tinkering with just like a script that ran in the browser, and we got like the basics of it going, and it was pretty janky, but you know, it did what we needed. And so I immediately started using it on stream. And I can't remember which one I started with. Maybe the Squidward slap was my first one, or something like that. And I ran with that. Stealth CT. There it is. And I think a lot of people in chat will actually know Stealth. Great guy. I don't think he's currently streaming at the moment, but when I did meet him, he was streaming, and he's a developer as well. And so we sort of worked together on the concept. And I said, hey, you know, I run a company, and I kind of make apps, you know, how would you feel if I ran with this idea and made it a product? And he said, go ahead, do it. Like he's got a job. He doesn't have time to be maintaining software and working on side projects of that scale. It was, a good fun project. And so, yeah, I did. And I think it took me 3 months to get the first version up, get a early sort of beta, I guess, out. And that's probably around the time you started using it. So yeah, I don't
because first
official date when channel points came out.
Yeah, because first iteration of BP, like I remember, it was a Chrome extension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually just before the end of the year that we released the dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it took 9 months or something for us to move. Well, it took 9 months for Twitch to release an API, an actual official API. And that's when we were able to move over to the dashboard.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess in answer to the question, it was pretty soon after. But yeah, the initial version came out in April. I think I released it April 15th or something like that.
I love that there's people in the world that will something will, oh my goodness. All right. Hello, everybody. This is a compliment for you,
Wait.
Noom.
Oh, it's a compliment raid. Oh my gosh. Can I read it out?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Welcome in to the NookCast. We are featuring Noom today, doing an episode about better points, everything about the product and service and how to make your channel points for your stream just way, way, way better. Thank you so much for the read. Don't apologize for the spam. Get out of here with that. Okay, go ahead.
King, I absolutely love your compliment raids. I love that you take the time to actually think about a unique compliment for each person that you're rating and you write out a paragraph. It's fantastic. It shows how thoughtful you are as a person. So it says, Noom, Better Points is a fantastic tool that honestly changed the way I viewed channel points. Your tech wizardry, genuine personality, and professional attitude make it everything I need. KL, you're a fantastic host whose great vibes, sense of humor, and pretty looks make the NookCast a lovely watch, and you make everybody feel at ease within moments. It's so true. All of it. All of it is so true.
King.
What a gem. Thank you so much, Kim. That's a lovely compliment. Thank you.
That is very lovely. King, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. To watch the first hour 19, make sure that you check the VOD after if you would like to see the demo of Better Points. We literally just changed off the demo a little bit ago. So welcome in, everybody. All right, Noom, next question, which I don't know how much you've actually talked about this with people, but I'm excited to hear about your background in coding and programming, because that is Better Points. It's coding, it's scripting, it's programming. I have very, very basic coding knowledge, and it might not even be the same coding that you do. So yeah, tell us about how you got into that, and is anything else you want to share about it?
Yeah, I guess I started programming like at a very young age and was just obsessed with it. I can remember rushing home from school, I think maybe early high school, so I would have been about 13 or so, excited to get on the computer to start writing code. And I would literally just plan what I was working on the whole day at school. I would think of nothing else. So it's kind of been a passion of mine, for as long as I can remember. And I always wanted to make games. That's always been my goal, and it's something that I've tinkered with since then. But I soon realized that games are actually really, really complex and really difficult to make. And my skill set didn't quite come up to the level it needed to, especially back then, because we didn't have really good, easy to use tools like Unity or whatever. And so I decided that to get the practical knowledge that I needed to focus more on game development, I would just be a programmer and I would make stuff. I didn't really know what I would do, but that was the direction I set myself in. And I think as anybody does around the time they graduate high school, they walk a different path to maybe the one that they end up on later in life. And I kind of lost sight of that, and I was just, I guess, working to survive, and I was, cleaning dishes and working in restaurants and all of that stuff, and trying to get jobs in IT. And so I worked in IT for a while, but I didn't get serious about programming again until maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, and I just sort of said, right, I need this now, and I'm going to make it my focus. And I really sort of knuckled down and ended up starting my own business and doing freelance work. And I was essentially making mobile apps and websites and web apps and that sort of stuff. And that's basically what I've been doing since. We slowly started to transition away from contract work last year. And I just wanted to make my focus my own products and just market my own products rather than being worried about, where the next contract is going to come from, or how, how I was going to meet this deadline or whatever. It's much more fulfilling to just be making your own products and selling your own products. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my background. It's something that I've loved doing forever, almost, and I'm old enough where I think my earliest memory of a computer, like, it wouldn't have been possible for me to write code back then. I think it was a Commodore 64. I'd have to have been a university graduate in the early 90s, I think, to be a programmer back then. So I think I got on board as early as I could.
That's awesome. My first computer was kindergarten. It was like a math game or something. And then I
played a math game on a Mac, I think.
I'm pretty sure, well, I can't remember. I mean, it was kindergarten. I'm pretty sure the first computer we had in my house was when I was in 3rd grade. So that would have been 1998 or 9 for me. And then there's always been a computer in the house since then. So yeah, over 20 years now of, like, I would say consistent and regular computer use. Although to be honest, when I was 8, 9, I was really only playing computer games. And then I remember being 10 and writing stories in Microsoft Word for fun.
What was there was something on the Mac where you could get it to read your story out for you?
Oh, I think I remember that in school.
Yeah, I can't remember the robot voice's name. It had a funny name. Like, we had Microsoft Sam, but then on the Macs it had something else.
I do remember using those, like, those big Macs, the round, colorful ones, the super, like, round looking. I can't remember what they were called, but
Apple iMac.
Yeah, maybe. I remember using
with the colored plastic on them.
Yes, the colored plastic that came in, like, pink and blue and all kinds of colors. Yeah,
we had those at school.
Yeah, I remember having. We did. I think it was 3rd or 4th grade. We did typing. Like, like, measured words per minute. And I remember my teacher, like, I was one of the fastest kids at typing, and I remember being faster than my teacher. My teacher was, like, so impressed. And it's just like, oh man, I'd love to have a conversation with that teacher now, just being like, did you think computers would just, like, would evolve to the way they have been from then, Probably being like, oh, these dang kids just picking up technology so fast.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's the same with, I pride myself in my typing too. You kind of have to as a programmer, I think. You learn to get good at typing.
Yeah.
But
totally.
Yeah. I think it's the same. I get grumpy when I see 6-year-olds on smartphones or on tablets, and they're just a tech quiz at 6, and I'm like, it's taken me like 30 years. Come on, guys, like, this isn't fair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all they know, though. Like,
snappers.
Like we're getting to a generation where there's adults now that have never not used computers. Like, they don't know a world without them. They don't know a world without cell phones. Like, we're getting to that point now. Because I got my first cell phone in 2003.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you when I got mine. The old Nokia 3310 or whatever it was. The brick.
Cool. Well, it was interesting to hear a little bit more about your background. And because you've been, like, just one more question kind of with that, because you've been doing it for so long, like how has the actual act of coding and programming evolved from when you first got into it in high school? Like, in the last, I don't know how many years that is, but like, has it, like, because coding and programming must evolve too, like new languages, right? Like, I remember using HTML in 7th grade to make a website. That was something that was part of my computer class back then, where you just open Notepad and start typing in the code and then just open that in Internet Explorer and boom, there's your website, right? But obviously people don't do that anymore.
Well, they do. You can still do that.
You can still I just mean, like, it's not. It's not what people
I mean,
actually.
sometimes that's the best way to do it. Most editors, so you call them IDEs, most editors are not too far removed from Notepad. My coding progression when I was learning to do websites, which is a really good place to start still today. If you want to learn programming, go and learn JavaScript and learn how to make an interactive website. It's the easiest introduction. And the reason why is because you literally only need a notepad. You need a notepad and a browser. You don't even need the internet. You know, if you could, well, you probably do to see tutorials and whatnot, but it's just such a low bar for entry. And this, I did a short series on Twitch where I wanted to teach people to program. It ended up feeling too much like work, so I dropped the project. But my firm belief is that literally anybody can program. I meet a lot of people that say, oh, I always wanted to get into programming, but I'm not smart enough. And I almost want to slap them because I hate hearing that. And I hate the concept that you've got to be super smart or super intelligent or whatever to be a programmer. It's not true. It doesn't require a certain type of brain. It just requires patience. You just have to have enough patience to learn it. But JavaScript, making websites is the best place to start. In terms of those kinds of languages, they've all evolved massively, and there have been huge improvements to HTML and CSS and JavaScript, which are those are your core website languages. That's what everything is kind of built upon in the web world. So websites and web apps and all this sort of stuff. This is what Better Points is made in. But they've gone through many, many iterations. Oh my gosh, another raid.
Welcome in, everybody. Hakime. Oh my gosh, 2 Nookian raids today. Guys, welcome in. Thank you so much for the raid. I'm KL. I have Noom here on the NookCast with me today. We're talking everything Better Points, which is a service to make your channel points way better and more interactive with your chat. We are about an hour and a half in, so we have covered a lot of stuff like the demo of Better Points and really getting into the meat of things. Noom and I currently are just talking about like his background in coding and programming and having this kind of conversation. I would recommend checking out the VOD once we're offline. We will be putting this episode up on YouTube as well after it is done. But welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for the raid, Hecky. Thank you so much. This is a Nook Run podcast where we talk about streaming things and have fellow Nookians on to talk about streaming things with. Oh, anyway, thank you so much. To go back to coding and programming, so yeah, HTML was like my jam when I was in high school. I used to make websites all the time. They were like, I can't remember the company names now, but they were those kind of websites where like us girls in high school would just like upload all of our photos to them, really like just upload mass. That was like before Facebook really took off. But we used to make our own little websites. And I remember that, you know, all my friends ended up using like just the built-in stuff. And then I would use, the HTML box to go in, and I'd go find templates online, and I'd go in and tweak the code to like the stuff that I wanted. And mine always looked so much different than theirs. And then they'd always be like, Kale, how did you do that? Yours looks so good. And I'm just like, I just went in and did I fiddled with the code. But I would say like past HTML, one of the last jobs I had with my company was the summer before last, where I was on what we called a burst, which is like I was covering someone's illness leave. So I worked for 5 months on the team. And part of my interview to cover that position was like, how willing are you to learn Google App Maker, like app scripting? And I had never dabbled into that before. And it's amazing how much, like I was surprised at how quickly I picked it up. And it reminded me of learning HTML back in the day. And I can't tell you how many things I Googled. As soon as like I'd run the script and I'd get an error on line 29, and then I'd go and see what it was and see what the error is, I would literally just copy and paste that error message and throw it to Google. And I like solved so many things from Googling. So it's just like I feel like you're right. Anyone can learn programming, because I was so shocked at how much of what I would learn would just be on the internet and on YouTube videos and on Google.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, you can take courses. I know you can go to school for programming and stuff, but I was amazed at how much I just like learned online by watching videos and Googling.
Honestly,
And-
it's really interesting. I went to university and I studied IT, and my focus was programming. They're in a really tough spot when they're teaching computer projects at university because in an older world, you needed to have all of that knowledge in your head. But now we literally have all of the world's knowledge at our fingertips, and we're connected to everybody else instantly. And what you're talking about, being able to just Google a problem and find a solution, that exists because somebody out there has done it before you. And some people feel like that invalidates them as a developer. It's like, well, I'm not actually an IT guy. I just Google all of the problems and I do what it says. Or, I'm not a real programmer. I just, check Stack Overflow and copy the solution from there. But realistically, you still need the underlying knowledge. You still need that sort of intuition of how things piece together to be able to interpret those solutions in a way that's sensible. But they're aware of this at university while they're teaching you, and it's really hard because they don't want to test you on it and say, have you memorized this rule book? Because it's impossible. You'll never memorize all of the tricks and all of the property calls, whatever, all of the methods, whatever is there, because it's just too much. There's too much, and there's multiple languages, and there's just so much going on. But it's irrelevant now because it's all available. You go and you look up the documentation. You go and use your IDE to explore what's available. It can tell you when you've made mistakes and give you proposed solutions. And you can go to Stack or just Google and find answers to all of this stuff really quickly. So the relevance of education has shifted, and it's now more about teaching you how to teach yourself, which is, I think, vital. But it's also really cool to realize that professionals are doing exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
That's what every day I have 50 tabs open where I can't remember this particular function that I need to use. I can't remember how to write this statement. And I don't bother memorizing because it takes me 2 seconds to Google it. Right. And Google just gives me the answer. So there's no point. Why would I hold that in my head when I know that I can just get it? And I was going to say, while you were saying that, congratulations, you're a real programmer now, because that's literally all it takes. That's literally all you need.
I had no idea Stack Overflow, like I've never been there before, and then that became like a permanent tab that was always open when I was doing that. But it was interesting though for that like burst job. As part of the interview, we had a task. So the interview wasn't just your standard like actual sit down interview like it was, but then part of the interview was also create a Google form and have the answers email in a PDF letter to the person that filled out the form. And that took me, I want to say I probably put in close to 48 hours to figure that out and to get it to work. And I actually love that was part of the interview, because not only did we have to provide the form, provide the PDF that was completed to the person, like to the interviewer, but then we also had to explain what we did to do it. Like what was our process that we went through. And yeah, I spent a friend of mine also applied for that same job, and he had a little bit of experience. But we both did the same thing. Like I went in with no experience whatsoever. I literally Googled everything to get to do that, because I had never done that before. I'd used Google Forms, and I knew that with Google Forms, like you could, have things export to a sheet. But I had never opened like the scripting part of a Google Sheet before. I had never been in there, and I had no idea. And I literally Googled everything, and there was a lot of it not working. And I remember sitting there just being like, why the hell is this not working? But yeah, I ended up figuring it out. And that was awesome for the interviewer to ask of that. Because I think, and then us having the chance to explain our thought process behind it, what we did to get it to work, like, that was the perfect thing. Because then that showed them just kind of like how we figure something out. It's nice that in certain areas of the world, like people know that you're not gonna like it's not up here. It's how do you get the answer, and how do you How do you work?
The same thing happened a lot at university. I think a lot of our lecturers were very aware of the fact that in a professional environment, you're never going to memorize everything and you will be Googling things, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what they were testing us on was our ability to, I guess, problem solve or work through those problems and talk about like what we would attempt. And you didn't need to write perfect code. You were allowed to write pseudocode, which is almost a plain English version of programming. You didn't need to have the brackets in exactly the right spot. You have the function name perfect, because you'll never know that in a testing environment, because we were literally writing paper tests, sitting in a hall writing paper tests, not on a PC. And it was just insane to do a programming exam on paper. But the lecturers were really, really just like, we want to just see that you understand the core concept. We don't care about whether you can avoid missing a semicolon or a closing brace or whatever. We don't care about that. We won't lose marks. And you'll get marks for just having a crack as well. If you kind of have the right idea, you'll get partial marks. So yeah, I think it's at a very interesting point, like studying programming. They're sort of straddling the old world and the new world, where like just writing paper exams for programming blows my mind. Like they don't want you on a computer because you can cheat, but it's like it's impossible to write code without a computer. So
well, and also too, even if you can find the answer, you can read someone else's experience or someone else's notes, but it's still on you to understand them and then take that and apply it yourself, right? And I can't tell you how many times, like when I was learning app maker and app scripting in general, like I can't tell you how many times I Googled it, thought I found the answer, read it, tried to implement it, and still didn't work. And I was like, okay, well, let me go somewhere else. And then I had like 4 tabs open because I'd like Google the thing and open like the top 5 things and then read through all of them. And it's funny, like, in some cases it didn't work, and then you'd find the right one. And yeah, just a lot of reading, understanding, problem solving. And scripting is, I couldn't tell you how many times, and I'm sure you've had this happen before, but I couldn't tell you how many times that like I'd run the script, get an error, and then I didn't think I would actually change anything, and then magically the script was like, okay, I'll work. And you're just like, but I don't think I changed anything. Are you just trolling with me now?
Yeah, my least favorite one is where everything is working fine on your local machine, and then you deploy the code and it doesn't work in the live environment. Which is kind of like doing the live demo before. It's Better Points has been working fine for the last 4 months, and I haven't touched it. There's been no patches. But today, because we're live, it's not going to work. It doesn't make any sense. It's just, I think it's the programmers' gods are cruel. They're cruel. Yeah. They're all like Loki, I think. So it's a tough job. Sometimes you just pray and magic happens. That's about it.
And it was funny, I actually as much as I love Excel, I've never had anything super complicated in Excel before. Like I've never really had like a whole lot of if stuff in there, which involves a little bit of coding, I would say. Like it's similar, right? Like similar behavior, I guess. But it's funny, like learning about like having those few months with app scripting and app maker and stuff, and learning a little bit of just how things like that work. In my last job, my coworker and I managed some Excel calculators that we have at the company. And, sometimes they'd break, or, maybe like we just needed to go in and change, and then, you'd start fiddling with stuff, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work. And you're like, well, what did I change? Right. And then it's amazing how like you just miss the littlest thing, like the end of a quotation, like one quotation. And then it just...
That's...
or one bracket.
Programmers, it's the closing brace, the little curly boys that always get you. Or in some languages where you need to have a semicolon at the end of every line. I can't tell you how many times I've spent hours trying to debug what the heck was wrong with my app to realize that it's because I was missing a semicolon at the end of the line.
Yeah.
Or you've misspelled something, like you've just got an extra E in there and you can't see it.
Yeah. Well, especially if you have like pages and pages and pages of scripting and code, right? So anyway, after that like brief stint in that, I have so much respect. I mean, I always did, but I empathize now. Like now that I've had a toe in the lake of the programming scripting world, now I get it. So I respect all the work and that you put into Better Points and continue to put in, and the fact that you built that from scratch and have made a tool available for people like streamers that obviously don't. It's not like we're all coders or programmers, right? But a tool that we can use, and you're the mastermind behind it, and it's awesome. So I thank you for sharing about your background in coding and programming. To wrap up the stream, we did mention better scenes overall, and you did mention like one of the things that you offer with that. But do you tell us about what you offer for streamers who might not use OBS, who may be on Streamlabs OBS still?
If you're on Streamlabs OBS, you should know about the App Store. I'm just trying to find a link to it. Unfortunately, you have to pay for Prime, Streamlabs Prime, which is I don't want to badmouth Streamlabs, but personally, it's a little expensive. It gives you a lot of features, but and it's really hard for me to say that because you don't get access to the apps without Prime. So, yeah. Oh, I can't find the link to the store. But yeah, we have a few apps over there, and that was sort of where I started. That's how I broke into the Twitch ecosystem, I guess, was when Streamlabs first implemented the App Store. They put a call out to developers who might be interested in creating apps for their platform for launch. And I threw my hat in the ring, not really expecting to get anything, because I figured, well, I'm a nobody with with products that aren't even related to Twitch. So surely they want people who are already working on Twitch apps and stuff. But they were more than happy to have me on board, which was really exciting.
Good, yeah.
And I made better goals, which the core concept of that was to have a goal bar that was recurring. So when you reach 100%, you can choose how this works. It resets back and it kind of levels up. So they feel like XP bars, and you can make them get harder and harder to fill. So if you've got, say, a subs bar or a donation bar, they're also really good for streamathons, where you want things to happen at each level as you go. So, you reach that first level of tips, and you add 20 minutes to the stream, and then the next level will take a little more. It's going to take $10 instead of $5, and you add another 20 minutes, and you can have them sort of grow exponentially or linearly. And yeah, so I made that, and I spent a lot of time on that. That was my main product for a while. And then I started expanding and making a few more products on the App Store. So if anybody's interested in seeing those, I'm not sure if you can just go and see all of our apps. Let me check. No. But we've got better goals, which is the recurring goal bars. They can also be animated. You can also have images that fill up instead of just a bar. They just give you much more control than the vanilla Streamlabs goal bars. They animate and they jiggle, they move around. There's a lot you can do with it.
Back when
we also have...
Back when I started on Streamlabs OBS, because that was what I got started with when I first started streaming, I remember setting up my first goal, and I was so annoyed. I mean, I didn't know about better goals at that time, and I can't say that I would have subscribed to Prime anyway with Streamlabs, but I just remember being very frustrated by the goal options with Streamlabs. The default is just like it didn't. You're right. There isn't enough options, and I can't tell you how many times I had to like redo the goal.
Yeah, well, if you set a end date on the Streamlabs goals, when that date is reached, you have to go and delete the goal and make a new one. And I was running 4 goals for follows, bits, tips, and subscriptions every month. And I would set them to really low numbers, and I would have something happen if we reached the goal. For example, if we hit the follow goal, we were going to do a marathon. If we hit the donation goal, we'd do a giveaway. And I had to go and remake them every single month. And that's literally that's what I was saying. My products are born of frustration. And as a streamer, when you're trying to do something and you can't find a way to do it, and this is something I'm really grateful that I have the skill set to be able to do this, I'll go and make it. If it doesn't exist, I really need it, I'll make it myself. And then I just realized, like, hey, other people can benefit from this. I should probably sell this or make it available somehow. So yeah, that's sort of where Better Goals came from as well, is just being frustrated with Streamlabs. We also have Better Shouts, which just allows you to do shout outs. It listens to chat for your shout out command, goes and fetches the person's avatar and plays an alert for you. And you can make it trigger your Streamlabs alerts with a shout out, which is pretty cool. Then we have Bouncing Box, which is kind of a meme app. It's, the idea was from the DVD screensaver, where you've got the DVD logo that bounces around.
Yes.
And everybody's waiting for it to hit the corner. It's literally that. Except you can change it from the DVD icon to whatever you want. You can have it be one of your emotes, but it just bounces around off the walls, and you can make it change color every time it bounces. I just thought that was a bit of fun.
That's
and
cool.
then the one other app that I'm really proud of is Better Motion. And it's essentially the motion effects plugin that we were talking about earlier in the stream, where when you do a transition and you move from one scene to the next, you can have your webcam slide in, or the game can slide in and actually animate. It essentially does that, but for Streamlabs. And you can set up these animations that happen when you enter or when you leave a scene, make things move around, move off the screen, move behind each other, that sort of stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, that's what we have on the App Store.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thanks for going into that, because I know that there are still a lot of streamers out there that do use Streamlabs OBS still. I think any streamer out there can admit that Streamlabs OBS, I am very sorry if you hear Ella right now. She's been whining this whole stream. Yeah, I think we can all agree that Streamlabs OBS is like probably, it is the easiest of the two to use. It's very beginner friendly when you're just getting into streaming. So it is nice to hear that you have some options out there for people that are still on that, still using that OBS. And we did address this earlier. I think this was before both rates came in from King and Hecky, but just to reiterate, Better Points at this point in time is only something offered through OBS. If you're using OBS at this point, it's not available for Streamlabs OBS, but Noom is figuring out how to get it on there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that, I think they boast 3 million users, the Streamlabs OBS.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of people on their platform, and obviously I want to be able to access as many markets as possible.
Right. I actually do know
and
of
of course,
very big streamer that uses Streamlabs OBS still, but I think he's
Yeah,
sponsored by
yeah.
them, so
Yeah,
that helps.
I think that's probably a line that you cross eventually. You either go to OBS or you get big enough where it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, this was all of the questions that I had for Noom. I think we have had some questions from chat here and there throughout, but this is a good time for us to open up the floor. Is there anything that we didn't address? Is there something that you want to ask Noom that we didn't already talk about? Now is your chance to ask Noom directly.
Ask me anything. Hecky, I also didn't say thank you before, but thank you for the massive raid. Thanks for bringing your community across.
Why are you such a stream tool making genius?
Maybe I'm born with it. Maybe it's just insanity. I don't know. I don't know. I make it up as I go, Avi. That's my secret, Avi. I never know what I'm doing.
I love that. I'll probably say this at the end, but thank you everybody for being here today. Always love seeing people in the chat during these.
King, it always starts with something that would benefit me, because I get the firsthand experience of it. Like I was saying before, most of my products are born out of frustration with my personal experience. However, I have had a few product ideas that were just from listening. There are a few things in the Nook that are common complaints. I see it in the Discord. We all have the same struggles with software and with the things we want to achieve that just can't be done. And I think that's really valid, is being able to have your ear to the ground, metaphorically listening to what people are struggling with, because wherever there's a problem that needs to be solved, you can almost always find a product that would solve it, and those are the kinds of products that make a lot of money, is solving people's problems. But yeah, most of what I do is literally just me being like, God damn, this needs to be done better, or I wish somebody would do this, and then the light bulb goes, I could do this, and then I think about whether it's marketable, do other people need it, do I have the time for it, is it realistic, and yeah, it'll either become a product or I'll put it on the Trello board and maybe get to it one day in the future.
Sorry, Ella's making. Oh, all right, she's done. I think Ella's going to make an appearance in every NookCast now.
Great. She should be the official mascot.
Oh gosh. Do we miss any other? Someone asked, how is your back so amazingly strong carrying streamers, and now streaming companies?
Never skip back day. Yeah, that's all the advice I have. Just spend some time with Drongo. I think that's what really grew my muscles. I've known Drongo for 8 years now. I've been carrying him the whole time, so it's I probably have him to thank.
Ananda asks, how do you decide creatively how to utilize better points?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's sort of like,
I can answer this.
Asking an artist how they come up with ideas for their paintings. It's like, sometimes I sit down and I think really hard and I'm like, right, we need a new redemption. And I just go through ideas, but I find most of the time those ones that are really forced are actually not very good when they're done. And the stuff that is great is emergent. If somebody makes a joke in your chat and it becomes a meme, run with it, exploit it, make it into a redemption straight away. It's like people will, they'll, you say something funny, they make it a quote, and it's just sort of written into your channel's history book. It becomes a part of your community. Yep. I think you've got to take advantage of those situations because they resonate with the community. Rather than something that you think is cool and you think would be funny content, let your viewers tell you. Let them show you what content is valuable to them and make it a part of your inside joke. So you've got that. It really reinforces that community feel.
But I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of streams. Mine is one of them where we've set up commands that play an audio clip, right? Very easy to do in Streamlabs chatbot. So it's like that, some of them turn into memes where people just always gravitate towards those, and channel points very much become that way. Like Mark's stream, like chat will just go on a streak of everyone redeems every single better points redemption that he has back to back to back. And he calls it chat segment, where chat just like overtakes the stream and redeems all of his redemptions at once, back to back.
Yeah.
It's just our time. It usually happens as soon as he transitions too, from gaming or from chatting to gaming, where then everybody just starts redeeming that stuff. I've made
the same thing happens to me.
Yeah, like I've made a stream deck button and a command so that when someone redeems the pet KL, they can put a command in chat. And I'm using that like pet generator thing where you can upload your own image. I've made I turned one of my emotes into a BTTV emote where it's like the pet petting me. So then I press the stream deck button as soon as someone redeems it, and then that's in chat and people flood the chat with that while it goes off. So yeah, there's just so many. I don't know. I feel like you don't want to copy someone outright. Mark and I understand that we both have the pet redemptions, but you also want to get ideas from other streamers, right? Like I think
I struggle a lot with that concept of not wanting to copy people, and I think a lot of that comes from maybe being ashamed that you're not creative. But I guarantee you, original ideas are very rare. They're very rare. Even if something seems completely original, it's going to be inspired by something. The person who made it has seen something somewhere, and that's how they've ended up on their idea. And they probably iterated through it a bunch of times, and it maybe started out looking almost exactly the same as that idea they saw. There is nothing wrong with copying. I don't think personally. I don't think. The trick is not making it your entire identity. You can't go and just completely mimic somebody else, but it's the best way to learn, for starters. If you want to learn how to make a redemption, copy one of mine. Do the Squidward slap. The clip for it's on YouTube. It's easy, and I personally wouldn't care. If anything, people need to learn to be honored when they're being mimicked, because it's one of the best signs of appreciation. If someone feels that they should copy you, it means that they really value your creativity. But what it will often lead to is you learn how they did it, you learn how to do it, but then usually along the way, you'll add a flair to it, and you might make it better. And this is how we improve, just generally as people. We take what somebody else has already done, we copy them, so we know we can learn how they did it, and then we have an idea on how to improve it. And that's where our creativity comes into play. And I think it's vital. It's vital that we do that. So I don't think people should shy away from copying, as long as you're being, I guess, honest with it and not trying to take credit for it, but also trying to iterate on it a little bit and put your own flair in there. But there's nothing, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Especially when it comes to channel points. I think it's a good place to start, is to just take someone's idea and run with it.
That makes sense. Thank you for bringing that up, and just having a quick chat about that. I think that was very valuable to discuss just now.
Bubblegum Valkyrie said the phrase that I was trying to remember: imitation is the greatest form of flattery. And I agree with that, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if someone were to copy me, I would be honored, because it means that they see my art or my creations as something worth mimicking. And that's pretty big to have somebody say that to,
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I've had situations too where someone has seen something that I have done or a way that I've done things, and they do the same because they're like, oh, I love that you've done it that way. And you're right, it does feel good. It is very flattering to be like, oh, I'm glad you think so. Like, hopefully it makes, like, one example is like the way I have my Discord server set up. Like, they just really enjoyed how I had my rules laid out, and like the channels and the groupings and everything. And going into their server, I see it's not identical, but I can definitely see where they like picked things that they liked about my server, and I was just like, oh, that feels pretty good. Okay. It's
really validating. It's like, it's the easiest way to say, I think you're good at this, or and that ticks a lot of boxes for a person in their own mind. That's like, it just validates the effort and time that you put into creating something.
Borrows Noom's bombs. There you go. I don't think I saw any other questions in the chat.
No.
After that last one. So we're coming up. We just passed the 2-hour mark.
Wow.
Do you have, I know, right? Time goes fast when you, what did I just say? Time goes fast when you're having fun. That's what I meant to say. Should we go find, is there any Nookian live right now? I hope so. Guys, once again, just a huge thank you. Jimbal's cake, cool, awesome. Thank you, friends. All right, perfect.
Yeah, Jimbal's is the only one live.
Oh, and he's only been live for just coming up on an hour. Beautiful. All right, friends, we are going to go say hello to Jimbal's, aka Middle Age Stream, fellow Nook member. Is our lovable, amazing can of beer, or pint of beer, I should say. So let me create a raid message. Does anyone happen to have the Nook with the, like, I know I have it pinned somewhere. I know I have it pinned somewhere from the charity event. I feel like that one's a good one to raid with.
Oh, right? I've got it.
Do you have it? Okay. Team Nook, beautiful.
Oh, wait, I've got an extra hand in there.
Is that how one ended up being more than the other? There you go.
That's how.
I love it. I think Team Nook is good. Team Nook is good, right? Also just wanted to say, for those of you that came in with raids that missed a good chunk of this episode where we talked about like the cost of better points, we went over the demo, like Noom completely instructed how to like get in there, set it up, do the things, demoed some of his own redemptions. We talked about just what it is. This VOD will be highlighted permanently on the Twitch channel here, twitch.tv/NookCast, the NookCast, sorry. We also will be uploading the video onto YouTube, so I'm sure that in a day when you search better points in YouTube, this episode will be one of the results. If you are interested, I would recommend watching the VOD in its entirety. We did cover a lot. As always, there's the website, www.better-points.com. If you're interested, there is a 20% off discount right now if you sign up for the annual subscription. We worked it out. That's $7.20 off. Do you still have that link handy, Noom, to throw into chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's the discount link. Also, if anybody has any questions at all and they want to ask anything about Better Points, jump in the Discord. We have a public Discord there. I would love to have you in there, and I'm always available to chat. I'm literally always on Discord as long as I'm awake, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have trying to set up Better Points, or if you're just curious before getting into it. So yeah.
Perfect. All right, well, I just kicked off the raid. Once again, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Hekame, King Argaroth, and Zenfrox for the 3 raids. I think this is the episode we've had the most raids in ever. So thank you 3 for bringing your communities to us. Really appreciate it. Let's go send some love to Middle Age Stream. One reminder, when we get over there from the raid, if you could please remove the referrer code from the URL and count as an active viewer in Jimble's stream, especially if you are going to stick around for a bit. If you wanted to go over there ahead of time, feel free to click that link so that you don't have that referrer code in there. Noom, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Thank you so much for coming on and talking everything Better Points. I'm really glad we had this episode. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been really fun. Absolute pleasure.
All right, with that, see you guys in the next episode. Stay tuned for our Twitter. We'll announce that soon, I'm sure. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
The Nook.
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 The Nook.